Death is the one story every life shares, but the conversations around it rarely happen. Welcome to the show that opens the doors to the funeral profession. The people, the stories, and the truths most never hear. This is As the Hearse Turns.
Hey.
I feel like I'm overdressed for this occasion.
Well, you probably are. So we've swapped styles tonight. I'm the casual one with the last responder shirt, and you're dressed up.
Yeah. Full disclosure. So I'm here at I am broadcasting live from the Harkins studio tonight. We do have a family that we're serving, but very, very awesome family. Very happy, and they're doing their thing. Troy and Deb have them in good hands. But if I got to pop out, I'll have to pop out, and I'm sure our guests and you can come up with something to discuss this evening that will.
I'm sure. I'm never going to look at a candy cane the same again after the conversation we had before we hopped on here. That's great. I love it. Tonight's going to be fun. I am also on call. I'm on call Mondays and Tuesdays, so my phone's in front of me. If something pops up, I will have to hop off, but we'll make it work. We're going to have a great time. Good conversation.
We always do.
Yeah.
So I am very, very excited about this evening. We have Georganne Bender from Kaiser and Bender. And the best way I can describe Georganne is the consumer whisperer. So I attended one of her presentations at NFDA in Baltimore, Maryland. And I walked out of that looking at funeral service completely different than what we as funeral directors perceive funeral service to be. And she is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to merchandising, planning, like laying out things, colors. I mean, just in how you speak, how you talk to people over the phone. So tonight is going to be a great night. I'm excited for you and her to be able to talk. So let's go ahead and let's bring Georganne. Good evening.
Hello. That was a good introduction. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And one of the other cool things is, so I love Universal.
Yes.
We go multiple times a year. And so I'm scrolling on social media, go figure me on social media. And all of a sudden it's in this Universal, I think it was a Universal pass holders group.
Annual pass holders.
Yes.
A rabid group of people.
A little bit. That's putting it delicately. These are some vicious people. But we're Universal people and Disney people, two different type of people.
That's a different show. Love Universal.
And I see a post and I'm like, Georganne Bender. I'm like, no. So I shoot her a message on her Facebook and I'm like, are you Georganne from NFDA? And she's like, well, who the heck are you? But then like,
no,
yeah. She's like, yeah. And next thing you know, the rest is history. And that was what, 4 years ago, George?
4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
I like to say that I'm the oldest Harry Potter geek that I live in Chicago, but I've been an annual pass holder for like 20 years. And I still walk around in my stupid house robe.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
I have an 11-year-old now who, walks with me, so I feel better.
So I think it's going to be fun just to jump right into things.
Okay.
So George, what do you see as the major obstacle that funeral homes won't change to actually understand not just our families, but the consumer? Because our consumer is the family, but we don't want to look at a family as a consumer.
Right. But they are. I remember the first time that Rich, my business partner who retired in 2023, the first time Rich and I ever worked in your industry, we were called by the Minnesota Funeral Directors Association, the CEO of Wilbert. And he called and he said, I see that you mystery shop all kinds of different businesses. Would you mystery shop funeral homes? And I thought about it for a second. I kind of laughed and I went, yeah, we would. Rich thought I was insane, but we did. And I remember that very first presentation, I said, I called the audience retailers. And this is like 25 years. They didn't like that.
I was going to say, how'd that go over?
No, it did not go over well. And I just went, but you are. I'm a retailer. If you sell anything, you're a retailer. But the good thing for you is that there are retailers out there doing incredible things in their stores right now to get people to trust them and spend money and choose them over everybody else. And you can use those same techniques, those same tactics, and to make your customers more comfortable. So, we're so comfortable right now with baby boomers.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of our customers. I'm a baby boomer. We're still very comfortable with baby boomers. We're sort of, putting Gen X into the same group. And, some of the things we share and some of the things we don't, but we're still very comfortable with those two generations. But I see so many funeral homes that need to change. Millennials are in their 40s now.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding us.
Yeah. Generation Z, right? They're getting up there too. And now alphas are coming. They want different things than baby boomers do. Baby boomers love whatever you do to make other generations feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. They adopt them. They love them too. But I mean, you have to be more into technology as a backup to the care that you provide. Technology. Yep. You have to meet customers where they are. I know you guys are all over social media, and you need to be. You have to meet customers today where they are comfortable. Yeah. And I think that's a big change, because every one of us runs our business and goes, well, we've always done it this way and it still works and we're still doing business. But these people that are up and coming, once my generation starts to say bye, huge changes.
Right.
And you got to, it's like a big tidal wave is coming. You got to get in front of the wave instead of waiting for it to come over you. And then, you got an issue. So
yeah,
I would say that.
Agree with you.
So you're a proponent of funeral homes utilizing social media. You don't think it's killing the profession and that it's doing a disservice and it's a shameful act?
No, I think it's brought you into people's homes in ways that, let me tell you what, there's just, what Rich I used to call us? We used to call it the creep factor. That every time we would go and we know your industry. Every time we would go into a funeral home to do a mystery shop, there's still that, is there going to be three guys standing there with their arms behind their back, smiling at me when I walk in? How do they know that I'm coming in? They have a gas station bell in the parking lot. What are they? How do you know I'm coming in? And so a lot of customers are always going to have that. But if I see you on social media, I see you, Chris, I see you with your daughter, and I see you going to Universal, and I see you, going to Gettysburg, and Catherine, you're all over billboards, and, that is more comfortable to me. I feel like I know you, even though I don't. I feel like I know you, and I feel a little bit more comfortable with you and your business.
Yeah.
And I think Catherine champions that all the time. How many people walk in, Catherine, and are like, we feel like we already know you. So it's not that we breached that hurdle of them being afraid to walk through the door. Right.
Because we know, and there's a difference, I think. I mean, I think that there are people on social media that do things just for attention and just for shock value. Yes. And I put them in a different category than I would put you and the funeral directors that I've met for the most part at NFDA and at the state events. They're not on social media to go, oh, look at this. This is a really cool thing. This is what we do. They're not there for that. They're there to show you something, to make you calm, to make you understand it. It's if you can make the funeral industry if you can make customers see the funeral industry as something this much higher than buying a car, you're ahead of things. And if you're on social media, you've already done that, because I understand.
I mean, to elevate, and that's what it is. It's to explain, this is going to sound horrible, but it's the truth. It's explaining the value in the profession. As funeral directors, and Todd Van Beck, God bless his soul, God rest him. One of his big things that he always taught, because I was lucky enough to study under him in school, is it's our job to have to teach the value the purpose, and the benefit of the funeral. And it's going to be different based on the demographics of where you're at, but that is our job.
Yeah. So, and I agree with you. And that's, somebody mentioned on here, Cindy said she's more comfortable commuting with people in person or on social media. I get that. You know, my mother-in-law passed away maybe 15 years ago, and we went to the funeral home, and I knew the people at the funeral home because I'd met them at NFDA. So I'm in this room with my husband and his brothers and their wives, and we're looking at all the things, and his mother I'd had conversations with her about what she wanted at her funeral, and she wanted the same casket as her husband. She wanted the same everything. And, you know, we're going through that, and we get to the part where they're talking about vaults.
Okay.
And, you know, there's 3 different levels of vaults. So I look at the vaults, and one of the guys in the room goes, "That's a lot of money. Why do I need that?" And I looked at the funeral director, and he looked at me, and I thought, okay, he would never say this in a million years, but I did, because I knew this much. I don't know, Randy, you want your mom floating in water? But the videos that you put out can handle those things so that you don't have those scary conversations. It was like pulling teeth that night. Why do we need this? Why do we need that? Why do we have to do this?
Yeah.
Because there are some things you do. The cemetery she was at, you had to have a vault. It was a regulation. And if they had watched, you know, videos in advance and seen you on social media and understood those things, it would have been a lot easier for that funeral director.
Yeah, we can get ahead of that by educating.
Yeah. I felt bad for the guy. I really did.
You know, I think there's well, no, and you know, here's the thing though, and this is why it's important to go to conventions, to take part in, you know, podcasts or webinars or seminars, things like this, from people like George, like Catherine, because most funeral directors don't do confrontation well at all. And I'm not saying that was confrontation, but it could come across as confrontational. But how to diffuse that? You know, what was the old one? I'm sure you remember it, George. Catherine, did you ever read Verbal Judo?
No.
You didn't either? Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, great book. You know, great way to, like, you know, de-escalate situations. But one of my biggest gripes about professionals, or quote unquote professionals, is that if you can't properly articulate the value of what you're trying to offer to the family, you've already lost.
Right. And you would be amazed at the number of funeral directors I have met doing mystery shops who can't have conversations with customers.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you give us an example?
Well, we visited this one funeral director one time. It was snowing like crazy. And Rich and I stood on the porch ringing the bell. Door wasn't open, ringing the bell for like 5 minutes, covered in snow, before he opened the door. And then we got in there, we sat across the table, and he essentially wanted us to do all the work. And, you know, most families don't want to do that. Most families want you to tell me, walk me through, have a conversation, talk about my loved one, talk, you know. And I would come across that a lot, where if there would be silence, if there would be silence, they would expect the customer to fill it. And sometimes that's okay, but sometimes it's not. And you have to be able to read the person to understand, you know, when you can say something.
Yeah.
When you should say something.
And I wonder if that comes from just, again, the lack of confidence that director had, or some people are. I'm a firm believer that there are some people that have. Everybody has a strength. Everybody has a weakness.
Mm-hmm. So
you may have someone that is a phenomenal embalmer, but they're never allowed to step foot in the arrangement office.
Yeah, I remember that story. It was 3M, and I want to say Post-it notes, but I could be wrong. And they were talking about how there was this guy, and he was so brilliant, and he invented everything, and he was the best employee, but he was but he was not talkative. He was not good around people. So they kept him in the, in the back, and he did his job in the back. And then they had front people that did the other things, that did the selling and things. And, you might have people like that. Like you just said, the best embalmer might not be somebody who wants to come out and talk to the customers.
Absolutely.
But you know how to juggle that.
I want to back up for a minute. You said something a couple minutes ago, Chris. You said that, what did you say about, we were talking about vaults, and you said they can't explain, that some funeral directors can't explain what they're offering. And I appreciated hearing that word offering, because I have been accused that we sell and that we push, and that we push families to buy certain things that they don't need, because we're just so focused on lining our pockets. And I'm just about educating. Here are your options so that you can make an informed decision.
And so that has a lot to do with the state of the mind of the customer.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a bad situation, and they're not fully hearing you, and they're going through different things of grief, and you're very calmly and politely explaining to them what the different things are, but they can't hear you. That's why the things that you two do on social media is so important. You could, I don't know if you tell your customers you might want to watch this video. You might want to, I don't know if you do that or not. Might be something that you could do, but we don't hear you as well as when we're in grief. And I think that also when you get to the point, as we get younger people, they are probably going to challenge you more than people of my generation and my parents' generation. Certainly Gen X will. Gen X is like, okay. They were the ones who were the latchkey kids that, wore the key around their neck and let themselves in the house. And, when I came home from school, my mother was there with freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, and Gen X would come home and they'd open up a bag of Chips Ahoy or something and sit down and play Pong. They don't necessarily believe everything that you tell them, because they've been taught to be severely independent. And you're going to see that, I think, more of that independence as we get a little bit, as the younger customers start to grow older and baby boomers start to phase out. So I think that's something we're going to have to get used to. I love that you use the word offer, though.
Yeah, I mean, because
like offer you.
Do we have merchandise? Absolutely. But I'm not here to sell you a precious metal vault or a concrete grave liner.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to educate you on, if you ask, to educate you on what the different levels provide.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're here to make the decision. My job and I probably am going to get chastised for this, but this is where a lot of people have a hard time being the director and funeral director. Because it's our job. The family, you may, hopefully you're only probably going to ever have to plan 1 or 2 funerals in your lifetime. I pray. However, for us, we might plan 3 a day.
Right.
We're the professional.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of funerals lately that are not the traditional funerals that my parents had. And I really appreciated the funeral director who helped me with my father. My mother's, we were stunned. My dad, this strong man, had no idea what to do. His wife of 40 years had just died, and my sister and I were young, and we didn't know. But when my father passed away, the funeral director absolutely listened to everything we wanted and took charge and had the list and made sure it happened. And we were so grateful that he did that. The guy did everything but hold our hands. We were so grateful that he did that. And today I'm seeing funerals that are more like events, not an event party per se, but they're in an event location. And the casket might be in the front. It's almost like planning a wedding. The casket might be in the front of the room. They've got audio visual on the side. They're playing music. They're playing videos. I've attended more of those in the last couple of years than I have traditional funerals.
Now, do you see from your perspective with your consultation and things like that, or even as a consumer, do you see that that is more of what the generation that is making the arrangements is looking for,
Yeah.
versus back when when it was church pews and
Yes.
what wood paneling and red shag carpet.
So younger generations want experiences and meanings. They want celebrations. They don't necessarily want mourning rituals. And millennials are more minimalistic than other generations, and they're all about the experience. You know, how can I tell the story of my deceased loved one? Tell me about that person? How don't I, you know, I have so many examples of. I went to my husband's uncle's funeral, and the man who did the eulogy did not know Uncle Harry at all.
Okay.
And I remember sitting in the pews, not too far away from his son, and I thought his son's head was going to explode. You know, that's not my father. Who are you talking about? My dad did this. My dad did that. Tell my dad stories. Harry was a big storyteller. He was all about family. He was a great salesman. Talk about that. So I think we're going to see more about the experience, even inside of a funeral home. And if you can tell people that you're willing to do that, I don't know if you have somebody on staff or somebody who's a consultant that you can consult with who can do events for you in your funeral home or without, you're gonna get more and more people asking for those things. Mm-hmm. There's somebody on here from Australia.
Yeah, I saw that about vault burnt use there. And then Karen asked, she said, I'm guessing, but I'd like to know for sure what you mean by mystery shopping. Can you explain how you do this?
Yeah, absolutely, Karen. But I want to go back to the guy from Australia just for 1 second.
Yeah.
They do funerals differently than we do. I mean, I've seen some incredible websites from funeral directors, funeral homes in Australia that they're softer. They're not showing the hearses. They're more, tell me about the family, or tell me about the person that died. Tell me about their family. They do things differently. I just thought of that. Okay. So you want to know how we mystery shop? Well, we do it two ways. We either mystery shop a funeral home on our own before a presentation, or we have clients in the funeral industry who will hire us and they will give us a list of their competitors. And then we go out and we visit all the competitors, and then we come back and we mystery shop you too. And then we compare you to each one of your competitors. And,
so do you like go in and say, we just lost someone?
Oh, Catherine. We go in and lie through our shorts. My God.
Really?
Oh,
we've done that a couple times. When Dakota first started with us, no one knew him. So we sent him into a bunch of different funeral homes, and you come up with the most ridiculous story about why you need the GPL.
Oh, see, I haven't even gotten that far. I mean, I'm just like, this is my aunt. This is her religion. She's about to die. This is what she wanted. What do I need to do? Tell me.
And your aunt's there with you?
No, she's in a nursing home about to die.
Or, got it.
So it's what, you and Rich, right?
It's me and Rich. Or now it's me.
Well, yeah.
And I just go in and I have a relative who's ill, or, and sometimes I go in and I do pre-need. And just to see how the people interact with me and what they say. We also mystery shop cemeteries. Same kind of things. I had a really enlightening, weird experience in a Catholic cemetery. So Rich and I go in. He's playing the bad guy, and I'm playing we need to bury Grandma. And the woman was really nice, and she was really smart, and she's telling me all about, the things that we should do, and, where to put it and where to put the casket, my choices. And she was lovely. And I asked her a question I said, my aunt's Catholic, my grandmother, whoever it was. What do I need to do? And she said to me, well, according to the church, you need to have her funeral first with her body present. No, her visitation. And then the funeral, and then you can cremate her. And when my mother died, Catholic funeral, when my mother died, we cremated her and the cremains were at the funeral.
Okay.
I lost my mind. I sobbing. I don't know if you guys are Catholic, but you do something wrong, you're burning forever, right? I'm like, oh my God, did we screw up my mother? What did I do wrong? And I actually had to go back and make an appointment with the Monsignor at the cemetery because I was scared to death that I'd done something really bad for my mother.
My word.
I hadn't. This woman had given me partially correct and partially incorrect information. But when you're mystery shopping a store, and I'm going in to see how a salesperson does, it's very different than going in and sitting with you guys and talking about how are you going to handle my loved ones, future in heaven, or whatever you believe. It's very different. You guys have such a huge job.
It's a little different than looking at a planogram.
Cry on command.
You what?
You can cry on command. Like you can totally act the part.
I can act the part. No, I cannot cry on command. Now look at my age. I cry at everything now. You show me a sad video and I'm going to,
right.
But no, I don't cry on command.
And then it
was like somebody punched me in the face.
Do you just say, well, I appreciate the information. We're going to take this home and think about it. And then you just never call them back?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for wasting our time. No.
And sometimes they send emails and, and after a while I'll say, I was mystery shopping you and you did really well and this is what happened. And,
or here's some feedback. Give me a call and we'll discuss it.
Yeah. I mean, especially the people that I do for pre-need, I don't want to leave those people hanging. That's their livelihoods.
Yeah. Now, you would be contracted by either an owner of a funeral home. Because I remember when you and I first connected, I actually, Georganne phone shopped my funeral homes for me.
Yeah. And they did really well.
And was able to solicit back feedback so that I could figure out, are we really getting the, where are areas of opportunity?
Well, one of the things is thinking that your own, doesn't stink. I remember mystery shopping a group of funeral homes for this one funeral director, and we didn't have a good experience with one of his own people. And he's like, well, she's my best person and she's really good and I can't believe that would happen. And he had recorded it.
Oh.
I recorded, I go, watch the tape. Sometimes we think, we can always do something better. Always. I mean,
yes.
I speak for a living. That's what I do. I go to trade shows and I talk, and there are things that I can always do better. If somebody says to me, I can't read that slide, or, you trailed off here, or maybe you should do this, or your microphone. I have to listen to that because I can't live in this bubble of, I have a really great company. You do have a really great company, but that doesn't mean that everybody's great 100% of the time. And, one of the things that I always talk about is you can never stop training, ever.
Yes.
Ever. I mean, maybe it's information from your vendors. Maybe it's videos, or it's classes, it's webinars, it's NFDA, it's whatever it is. People have to continually learn.
So it's not. So you're saying that what the bedrock foundation of funeral service, that this is how we've always done it, and we don't need to try something new or do anything new, is completely wrong?
Yeah. What do they say? What are the last 7 words of a dying company? But
we've always
done it that way, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
You gotta. I mean, look at all the changes that had to happen since COVID. Hopefully every business that went through that came out better. Hopefully.
I think the funeral profession has, but it's changed the funeral profession forever. And I think that's where, again, as professionals, explaining the value of the offerings and why they're there and the benefit of actually having the funeral service versus, because they'll sit there and they'll say, well, back during COVID, we did this for Pop. So Mom just passed away now. Why it was fine back then for Pop. Why do we need to do something different now? Why, instead of just doing a direct cremation, why should we have a funeral service now?
Right.
And
and that's a video. Everybody who's listening to this is a funeral director. You should do a video on that one. You should do a Facebook on that one. Why should you have a funeral? People don't think they need it. I don't want to spend the money. I don't want to go there. People aren't going to come. You need closure. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Unless you're a hermit somewhere.
I agree. We lost my uncle 2016 or 2017 suicide. And we were supposed to go out to eat. We would go get sushi, and he was like, him and I were the black sheep of the family, and we would always talk about that. Like, I always wanted to be a funeral director, and just kind of went down a different path, and he went down a different path, and maybe not the best path, but he was just struggling, and we would go out to eat, and so we had a dinner planned one night, and we were supposed to go get sushi, and he called me. And I didn't answer. I was in the middle of another phone call, I believe. And he left me a voicemail, and he said, I need to go to an AA meeting. He was an alcoholic. And I thought, well, I'll just call him tomorrow and we'll reschedule dinner. Mm-hmm. He didn't go to the meeting. He took his life. And I never got to see him after that. And it's not something that keeps me awake at night, but it's
there.
I never got to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just, we had a situation recently at the funeral home with someone, very similar situation. And when the family came in, I just said, I'm really grateful that you did this for not only yourselves, but for, any siblings or close family members. People need this. And they looked at me and they said, do people not do this sometimes? We thought everyone viewed. And I said, no, not everyone does. And this was a situation, it was viewing prior to cremation, but they were surprised to hear that. And, they agreed that what they did, it was good for them. They needed
it's good for everybody.
Yeah. Had they not done that, their last image of that person, it was not a good one at all.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
And people don't know what they don't know. So it's really important for us to get out and educate. And one of the first things, like, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but when families walk into our funeral home for arrangements, we don't go right into the arrangement room. Can I walk you down to our chapel? We just moved in here 2 months ago. Do you mind if I give you a quick tour?
Give me a tour.
And I want to show you where the restrooms are. That way you can use the restrooms during arrangements.
Show me that.
And so people see this chapel, and it's not a chapel with bright red carpet and dark, hunter green drapes and dark wallpaper.
Which are still out there.
Yeah, well, that's where we just moved from. That's why I'm using it as an example. But, people see these spaces. And so maybe this was a family that was coming in with, intentions of moving forward with direct cremation and no viewing. And they see, this space isn't, doesn't look like a funeral home. That's the feedback we get now. This doesn't look like a funeral home. It's a comfortable space. Mm-hmm. And so there have been families that came in with an idea of what they wanted. And by the time we finished the tour, it's like, maybe we will have the funeral service here. We're not going to go to the fire hall down the street because they see value in what we have to offer.
Yeah, I see. I people are comfortable there. I mean, what's the big thing now? You want your bedroom to look like a hotel room, right? It's calming. It's the colors. They're selling hotel sheets and blankets and duvets. And, we're comfortable in spaces like you're talking about.
Yes.
Can I go back for 1 second? Somebody asked, when I end a mystery shop, do I just leave and say thanks, but no thanks? No, I don't. I finish it, Derek, like I would finish any conversation, and I take the information and I thank the person and I tell them that I will get back with them. And I do, just not right away to plan an actual funeral. No, it's very polite. They really have no idea that they're being mystery shopped.
Have you ever walked in anywhere and they're like, we know who you are?
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Well, maybe after this.
Maybe. Maybe.
So Keith asked, he says, talk to me about voice of the customer surveys. I'm not familiar. Are we talking about like the federated surveys? I've never heard of that titled survey.
You mean like a survey where we ask the customer what they think? All right, I'm going to say one thing about surveys. If you do a survey, open-ended questions are better than closed-ended questions, but you need both of them. And if you're going to do a survey, never use an odd amount. Like, don't do, what was your opinion of this funeral home? 1 through 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Because you know what people do? They go to 3. Then they're right in the middle and you don't know anything. Do 6. Do 10. Then I have to choose on the good side or the bad side. But, you know, there's one thing that I really like to do, and we've always called it asking the big question. And the big question in retail or other businesses has always been, what one thing could we do to make your experience more pleasurable? You know, what one thing could we change? What one service could we add? What one? In your case, you would say, you know, what one thing could we have done to make your experience easier? What one thing could we have done to meet your needs? And I don't know if you do that before the funeral, if you want to do it afterwards, but when you ask people to tell you one thing, they'll tell you. They might not go through a big survey, but you ask that question, just tell me one thing. They absolutely will.
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, that's a really good point. It's the way things are worded, because a lot of the times some of the surveys are just one, like a scale, and then as it leaves at the end to where it's, is there anything else you would want to relay to the person? And a lot of times they just hurry up, circle all the way down, and just put it back in the return envelope, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you, those are probably really good questions if you truly want to solicit feedback, because you're going to get them to start thinking.
Exactly.
Versus, you know, oh, look, I got all 5s on this survey. What does the 5s tell you?
Yep.
If you get negative feedback, do you pick up the phone and call the family?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I only got one survey back where the family, of course, they weren't happy with the prices. You know, 20 years ago when we planned Mom's funeral service, it didn't cost this much. I'm thinking, well, it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did not call them just because I felt like no matter what I said, they wouldn't be happy.
You know what? In that case, send a note. You know, I'm really sorry that you felt this way. We tried our best to do what we could. If I can do anything for you in the future, handwritten, not handwritten by a computer, handwritten by you. You know, if there's anything I can do for you in the future, please don't hesitate to call me, put your card in it, and send it. Yeah. But, I mean, you have to respond. Like, I'm sure you guys on Yelp and on Facebook, I'm sure if somebody leaves a review or says something, you respond to that. Yeah. But there are still funeral homes out there that have not picked up their Yelp account. They have not done their Google business account. And you need to. On Yelp, say, Catherine, you didn't fill out Yelp for your funeral home. I can fill it out for you.
If and you don't claim the list.
Me, a customer, can claim your page if you haven't filled it out. And even if you haven't filled out Yelp or your business page, people can still be reviewing you and you don't know it.
I know we have our Google. Yeah. We have our Google business profiles and everything set up, Chris,
that's what
right?
I mean. Yeah.
So we have Google Business, and so we partner with Ring Marketing with Welton Hong. So that encompasses all SEO platforms. So Google, Yelp.
You looked at them?
Yeah, we get monthly reports, and we have an actual strategy call just like this with our account manager. Nate and I get on that, and you know it really is enlightening. But one of the biggest things is no matter the comment, whether it is negative, whether it is praising you to the cows come home, it is important to always respond.
Yes.
Because if you do not respond to the negative comment, there's only one side of the narrative.
Well, now, and then people start to pile on.
Yes.
People love a negative comment to pile onto. So,
and that's what we get so much hate in the social media world from other licensees who have ghost burner accounts and this, that, and the third. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? I took a note from Nathan from the other night to where it's like, man, I'm so sorry. You're so sad, but I appreciate you being here to keep my information fresh in the algorithm.
Yeah.
And they never responded, you know?
Oh.
And it's frustrating when these people have never used our services. They're just upset with us, and then they'll take it to Google and they'll leave a Google review for us. And you know how difficult that is to get removed.
Hard, very hard.
So
but respond, and then at least you're on there. We had a Google review one time where this woman was going off on how much she hated our presentation on finance, and we didn't know numbers, and we don't do finance.
Yeah.
You guys are lucky I can still remember the multiplication tables. I mean, let's be honest here. So with that, I was able to go back to the review company and say, go look at our website. We don't do this. Mm-hmm. And we were able to get it taken down. But I responded right away. I think you're mistaken. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but we talk about merchandising and, not finance.
And Chris, you got that review from someone in the community a couple weeks ago on the post where you were introducing yourself, and they claimed that they were at a funeral service and they weren't impressed with you and the staff. And we responded to that. And I said, my husband and I own the funeral home. And
I was lackadaisical.
Yes. Yeah.
That means you have a personality.
And we reached out, offered to talk to them, never heard from them. So at that point, I just chalk it up to, you know what? We're new owners.
Some people like to stir the pot.
We don't like change.
We're very sensitive these days. I mean, I used to do stand-up before I became a speaker, and I can be horribly sarcastic. And I try not to do that, when I'm working, when I'm speaking. But sometimes you say things, or sometimes you might say things that you think from your generation that are, stupid throwaway comments, but somebody else will take such offense at it. And I think we love to do that. We love to take offense at things that don't really matter. I mean, some things matter, but there are little things that we pay attention to, and then we're all over, we're all over Facebook.
And I think one thing, and we've said it before, Catherine has said it, she has lived on this, is that we understand that there is a certain amount of criticism that we subject ourselves to by being public facing profiles or, people in the funeral profession. And you have to have some thick skin. You can't take it personally. You can't lose sleep over it at night.
No.
A lot of the people that are leaving some of the comments were never. Catherine, you said something to me one time, and it's always stuck with me. It said sometimes that family was not meant to be our family.
Right. Yeah. We're not meant to serve every family.
Yeah.
No.
And I think a lot of people have a hard time. Exactly. Have a hard time wrapping their mind around that. So, and then just for a side note tangent, because Georganne, she loves whales too. She's a big whale fan.
Hate whales.
No,
I have to clarify that. I love whales, but the whales at SeaWorld are assholes. Be honest with you. Read those books about how how you talk about how you go down rabbit holes.
Yes.
I went down a SeaWorld rabbit hole after I watched Blackfish, and I read every book on the planet. And I can tell you which whales have attacked which trainers and things that SeaWorld has never made public. Oh, don't even get me started on that.
That's a different show.
I'm surprised you remember that. I haven't talked about that in a long time.
I want to say something real quick. So back up to not every family. We're not meant to serve every family. We're going to be a good fit for some families.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best fit for others. and I might catch some crap when I say this, usually the phone call that starts out with "What's your price?" I know that that's probably not going to be the best fit because I'm not the lowest, I'm not the highest, but they're usually price shoppers for cremation. And I had a guy call me about 3 weeks ago. I was sitting on the beach. We're in Ocean City, and he says, you know, so and so passed. They're at XYZ, and what's your cost for direct cremation? And I gave him my price, and he said, well, I got a price for $990 down in Maryland. And I said, well, you called a cremation society, and we're a funeral home, so there's a big difference between a cremation society and a funeral home. And a very nice man, but talked here and there and chatted for a little bit. And he asked me, he said, is it possible that I can pick so-and-so up from XYZ and transport them down to Maryland in the bed of my pickup truck? And I thought, I don't even want involved in this situation. No. I don't want involved, and we're probably just not a good fit. So I wish you the best of luck. Here's who you'll want to contact. And I will point people in the direction of the low-cost funeral home in our area if I know that costs are a concern, because I'm certainly not going to sit there and, get them.
Well, you know what? It's terrifying if you're not prepared for it. Somebody in the comments said, we prepare for a baby for 9 months. We prepare for a wedding for, at least a year, and then a funeral comes and we don't know what to do. So, if someone said to me right now, you need X number of thousands of dollars to pay for this funeral right now, I know that you guys have ways to help people go through that. But sometimes the first thing through your mind is, I don't have my next rent payment. How am I going to pay for this? Yeah. What am I going to do for my dad? And, if you can turn a price shopper around, sometimes they just need to hear from you and hear your story and you're good. But some people, like Donald said here, no matter how hard you try, you won't please them. And some people that shop for price, they're going to Costco and they're buying the 47-ounce things of mayonnaise and they're shopping the clearance rack. And that's their mentality.
And this is what's so important about price shopping. Don't wait until you have to make a decision because the hospital's telling you that you're at the deadline, that we're going to call the medical examiner, the coroner, the state anatomy board as your loved one's unclaimed, because you just lost someone. You're not thinking clearly. You're making decisions out of emotion, and that's where the bad actors, the bad apples, the sleazy funeral directors will come out of the woodwork to take advantage of somebody like that.
Right.
And do it before you get to that point. Mm-hmm. If I say it all the time, it sounds like a broken record, but you get ready to buy a car. How much time do you invest on your phone, scouring the best deal, looking at all the different dealerships? And 9 out of 10 times, the days of walking up to the dealership just to kick tires, that's long gone.
They don't have cars.
Exactly. They're sitting there and they've got the deal done. They know how much they're going to pay. They're approved for the financing before they even walk into the dealership and still have to wait 3 hours.
Yeah.
But for a funeral service, for God forbid, the woman that brought you into the world or the man that raised you, we don't have the time of day until you're in the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but sometimes we can't.
Is it a mental thing, you think?
Sometimes we just cannot. I have written down everything that I want for my funeral. It's in writing. It's on my computer. I cannot make myself go in and pre-plan it. I cannot do it. And I'm 71 years old, and I have more time behind me than I do ahead of me, which terrifies me. I can't look at those things. Can't do it.
But you at least have your wishes written down somewhere.
I at least have that written down so my kids won't be crazy. I picked the funeral home for them to go to.
You're coming to Pennsylvania, right?
I should. My mom's family's from Pennsylvania. That's why I love talking to you, because you guys have that accent. The way
I think you have an accent.
No, I am sure I do. The way you say your O's. Well, I
Oh.
I was
Really?
born in New Jersey, moved to New York.
Oh.
The way you say your O's.
That's why I'm sitting here. I'm saying it to
You're
myself.
doing it now.
I look weird. Next.
Chris also says cement. He doesn't say cement.
And
I say radiator and carrot.
And it's the water, and it's washing machine.
Yeah, my mother from Bryn Mawr said washing machine.
It's the Washington D.C.
But you have a lilting accent, and it's the how you guys say your O's.
Can I show you something really quick?
Yeah.
So I have to come up with billboard artwork. I get an email from our rep at Lamar every couple months, and she's like, I need artwork for your postings coming up in October. And we are just pushing pre-planning. But there are, I think funeral homes we're expected to do the stereotypical funeral home marketing. We care about your family. Well, obviously you should care about my family. You're a freaking funeral home. Can you see it? Ooh, that's blurry.
To turn down the brightness on your screen, Catherine. My biggest pet peeve is if you have to advertise you care, you do not.
You do not care.
Right. Okay.
You guys show you care just by. Okay, what does it say?
Death
doesn't take appointments.
Planning does.
Planning does. That's good.
Someone in the community will complain about it.
Yeah.
Someone's not going to like it, but it's true, and they don't like it because it's something is true.
It's reality.
It makes you think,
and they don't want to face reality, but it's so true.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to continue having these conversations and normalizing this. And none of us are making it out of here alive.
Nope.
None of us.
Nope.
And the way, like I full disclosure to you guys that are watching this, I've never met Catherine before today, but a mutual friend, Ryan Thogmartin, told me 2 years ago, what a great job she did merchandising her funeral home. And so I found all these pictures and he helped me. And I've been talking about you and your marketing in presentations for the last 3 years. And Chris for the last 2 years, because you do the Monday morning or morning
Morning coffee
with Mortician. And I read it, and my kids read it, and it's good information. It makes you people. So it's okay to put that. I mean, it's true. Sometimes we need to see something right in front of our face that's important, that's going to happen, and it's softened when there's a person in the picture. When there's a person talking about it, when there's a person, on social media in the picture, it softens it.
I've had so many people that before, again, and we talked about the story, when I started posting to social media, it was at first just verbiage, just a text. And then it grew into, and my wife loves it, my plethora of my coffee mugs, which now I go places and people just give me coffee mugs and it's freaking awesome. And then as it transitioned and I came on board with Catherine and Nate, then it became more front facing. But it took time, but I've had tons of people say the same thing. We've learned so much from the coffee conversation. And one of the main things I love here at Harkins is that most of the families, when they come in, they're like, oh, you're the guy on the billboard. Or I know you. I can't cut people off in traffic anymore because people know me. So I got to behave.
Right.
And I said it the other day, and I think we've all spoken about it. It's just that if the families are walking through the door and that's the first time they're meeting you, you've already lost. It's to be able to put yourself out there. We are normal human beings.
If they haven't met you before, it's how you greet me.
True.
Can break the ice. And if I haven't met you before.
So if you were mystery shopping, how many times have the very first words out of the mouth of somebody is, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss"?
Never.
Really?
Yeah. But they always ask
her to say every time.
That might
Yeah,
be
honestly.
that might be the second question.
Okay.
The first question is always, how can I help you, or what brought you here, or welcome to.
Do you get the, like, one of my biggest things is answering the phones and stuff like that. I do not like good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're calling a funeral home. It's there people.
What do you say?
I this is Wagner, Elfner, and Harkins Funeral Home. This is Chris. How may I help you?
Love that.
Because I had a gentleman one time good morning, Wagner, Elfner, and Harkins Funeral Home. It wasn't here, obviously.
Yeah.
This is Chris. How may I help you? What's good about it? My wife just died.
Oh, yeah, that's that. I never thought of that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, how you greet me. I mean, your body language. What is it that 55% of what we project to people is our body language?
Really?
Yeah, and tone of voice is second, and the words we use are third. And I do this in presentations. We can butcher sentences. Chris, I want you to say, I did not say you dropped the casket.
I did not say you dropped the casket.
Catherine.
I did not say you dropped the casket.
I did not say you dropped the casket. Same words. So people can answer the phone and go, good afternoon. Thank you for calling Bender Funeral Home. How can I help you? That's a lot different than, this is Georganne at Bender Funeral Home. How may I serve you today? The tone of, I can't see you. I mean, we've worked with retailers. We have literally hung mirrors in front of the telephones, because when you're smiling, you can't sound snotty or bored. So we would make them look in the mirror and smile, and then answer the phone.
Even laying down in bed, don't answer the phone when you're laying down in bed.
No.
When I get a first call, I make myself get up and go sit down in the kitchen, because if you're laying in bed,
you can hear it.
Like still in bed.
Yeah, you can hear the ruffling. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I get that.
Other than when body language. So, what about I'm so sorry. And again, I'll never forget. I was freshly licensed, and lady came in, and this is what I've seen the old school funeral directors. This is how they've always done it this way. I'm Mrs. Bender, I'm so sorry for your loss. And that lady looked at me and she says, No, you're not. This is your job.
Yeah.
So again, things that I've learned.
You could say, Mrs. Bender, I'm sorry for your loss. It's hard. I know it's hard. That's much different than the wringing of the hands and trying to sound like, I'm so sorry. Because I probably would have said to you, no, you're not. Yeah.
And people can see fake. Mm-hmm. They can call out. And I hope, and being true. And like I tell folks, and now as I greet someone, I'm sorry we're here under these circumstances.
Right?
I wish we would have been meeting under different circumstances.
Yeah.
It's all words matter. Then I'll never forget we had Ruth Ann on, and Ruth Ann explained that this service was absolutely amazing. It was beautiful. The mood, there was a special person singing, and as she walked past the widow, she said, "Isn't this absolutely lovely?" And she wasn't saying anything wrong. She was saying it to the wrong audience.
And some people would take that, isn't this lovely? Yeah, it is. I want it to be lovely. I loved him. I want it to be lovely. Other people, that would destroy them for days.
And that's why it's important that I think as funeral directors, we need to be able to interpret body language. We need to be able to understand. You got to be able to read the room.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think these are things that are not taught in mortuary school. These are things that are not taught, unfortunately, in an apprenticeship. But these are things that are learned by taking your butt to a convention, sitting down, and listening to someone like Georganne and taking those notes back.
You know, when I went to school, they did not have classes on listening. I don't know if they have classes on listening skills now, but
Ask my daughter. No,
you need. That's not fair. What is she, 12?
10.
I can confirm they don't teach that at Dallas Town.
Yeah. I mean, but you need to do that. You need to be able to look at somebody and listen to what they're saying. And instead, so many times we're thinking that we're trying to anticipate the next question or what they're going to say next, or, you know, something like that. And we don't even hear what they say. So it's important to pay attention.
Yeah. Caitlin had commented, she's from Coleman Taylor Funeral Home. And she said,
I saw that.
She said, I asked someone how they were one time early on, and I'm so conscious of not saying that now. And I just think anytime we're talking to a family, depending on how the person died, you know,
Yes.
Don't say, I'll shoot the obituary over to you later. I'll never forget.
Oh,
yes.
I see where that's going.
We had a graveside service for someone a couple years ago, and it was a really unfortunate situation involving a handgun. I'm sure you can imagine. And at the end of the service, it was so hot, the pastor stood there and he said, I don't mean to jump the gun, but we're going to, wrap this up. And I'm like, oh, when I'm in arrangements with families and, for anyone, in school or in funeral service, just take note, just think before you speak.
And those are the things that you have in the back of your head not to say.
Yes.
The lady that you just talked about, thank you for that shout out, Coleman Taylor. I appreciate that. Somebody said that they only said once, how are you? I found myself in that situation when I was talking to a friend who passed away, to his wife, and I would see her and I was concerned. How are you? And then I realized what I had said, and I said to her, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I asked you that. And we laughed. And I said, but I'm always thinking about that. So if I say it again, I'm sorry. And then from now on, I said, I'm just going to tell you that you smell nice. And that means me and you that I care about you. And I hope everything's okay. Because there's always things in the back of your head that you.
Well, what was it? Is Catherine, you did a couple videos recently about hard funeral truths, and they very, very relevant and great feedback, great engagement. And I just put one out. I don't think I put the second one out yet, but the first one went out about things that should never be said at funerals. And I'll never forget, it was a young child that passed away, and the parents were burying their child. And to listen to some of the things that were so cringe,
oh my God,
that was being said, it was, I stood there and it was like nails on a chalkboard, where one person said, well, don't worry, at least you're young enough, you can still have another.
He's in a better place. Yeah, well, I want him right here.
Yep.
He's supposed to be here with me.
Right.
Child.
Yeah.
But even that he's in a better place for any situation. So a husband that's burying his wife of 50 years,
right?
She may be in a better place. That's fine, but she needs to be here with me. That's my everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's why it's so important. And I think a lot of people, again, this is why training is so crucial, because if you go out, if anybody that's in this for tonight that is a funeral director, if you go out tomorrow and you sit in front of a family and you attempt to implement everything that we're discussing tonight immediately tomorrow, you're going to sound like an idiot. Because mentally, you're going to be trying to think 7 or 8 steps ahead while you're trying to serve the family. Training and repetition is important. Education, reading the books, listening to these podcasts, things like that. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. You literally are going to have to retrain yourself how to communicate effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially if you're younger, you're used to saying whatever you want to say. You can't.
Well, and just with arrangements, listen with the intent to understand. Don't listen so that you can, come up with the perfect response. Listen Just listen to the family.
Right.
They just need to be heard right now. But I think so many funeral directors get in there and just yap, 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 yap. So
Some
listen,
people-
what is it? Listen 75% of the time. Talk 25. Yeah, I don't know. But
Well, people really need to listen.
yeah.
Well,
And
and I had
sometimes people really need to tell their stories. One of the things, one of the comments, somebody's just pre-planned their mother's funeral and feel good about that. That's Dee Dee, that's great. The comment that you have at the end, God, I can't think of her name now. She was the poet laureate for the United States under Clinton. It'll come to me as soon as I hang up the phone. Anyway, she said, people will remember what you said. People will remember what you did. People will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did
And
you ever have a funeral director greet you with a hug when you walked in?
Did what?
Did you ever have a funeral director greet you with a hug when you walked in?
No.
Wo-
I would have probably started laughing and had to leave.
Okay.
People do that?
So I'll have people that will come up to hug me, but I do listen for key words that
Yeah.
give me the indication that they would be okay with that. But I'm not going to like pounce
so
on them.
Catherine's a hugger, and it takes one to know one.
Well, I am too. I was thinking Maya Angelou. Sorry. The late, great Maya Angelou.
Mhm.
I might hug you at the end of the funeral service,
Yeah. I wasn't sure. Not that I hug
but when
people.
I come in, I'm a hugger too.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that there are, I think that's going away. You know, people are like, don't touch me.
I think that, and I think the problem is that people are so guarded. They feel that it makes them, they don't want to come across as vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because again, they're walking into a situation that for so long they were uneducated on, and that's why we're trying to break down these barriers, make ourselves more accessible, to where, you know, I've got to go in there and, you know, because everybody thinks this is going to be a sales pitch,
Right.
and all that type of stuff. And 9 out of 10 times by the time they leave, some of the arrangements that you think are going to be the absolute worst and going to be the most challenging and most difficult, as long as you're just be yourself, be truthful, and just have a conversation.
Right.
You're there. And then the best part, like Catherine says, the best funeral directors are the ones that listen and keep their mouth shut. The problem is you have too many funeral directors that want to make the funeral about them and not about the family.
That's a good point.
And
the ones that want to make it about the family, I mean, they're the ones who, it's freezing out and I'm sitting at the gravesite and the funeral director walks over with an armful of blankets and hands one to everyone sitting there. So we're not freezing. I mean, that's a big difference than someone who wants to tell me why I need something for 20 minutes.
Funeral director should be seen and not heard.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, you play such an important role, and how you play that role is important because you wear 75 hats.
Yes.
At the same time. And we don't realize that, you know, I never realized until I started working in your industry and I sat back and just watched it at funeral homes. When I would go for a visitation or something, all the things that you're doing behind the scenes, you know, and all the things that you're juggling, and we don't see that. We appreciate it, but we don't know how it happens. It's like magic.
That's the thing. Someone passes away, they show up, and that their loved one looks, you know, hopefully their loved one looks, you know, amazing and at peace and at rest.
Yeah.
And the flowers are positioned properly. The stationery is done right. There's no typos. You know how many times I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, I just ordered stationery. Did I do a typo on that name? Did I put those dated desks? So I'm pulling out my laptop at 3:30 in the morning, looking at the order, looking at the proof, just making sure. Funeral anxiety is a freaking thing.
My
It absolutely is.
dad, my mother died on their 40th wedding anniversary. Yay.
Oh.
And when we were in the hospital, I actually asked the priest, why is my mother in a coma and Charles Manson's healthy as a horse? And he said, oh, George, that's one of the great mysteries of life. But he did say to me, he said, you know, your mother isn't going to come out of this coma, and you need to understand something about your father. And I said, what? He said, you need to understand that he will do one of two things. He will either find someone immediately because your parents had a good marriage and they spent a lot of time together. He will find someone almost right away, and you and your brother and sister better deal with that and be okay with it, or he'll die within a year. And my dad found somebody, and he ended up marrying her. And when she passed away, the funeral home made a video, and they spelled our family name, Guyan, 3 different ways on this video.
The devil's in the details.
I wasn't there. It would have been really ugly. But you got check it again.
We don't get an and I've said this. Funeral service is a zero-fail mission.
Yeah.
We do not get second chances.
No.
If you have a wedding, something goes south, you can get remarried. You know what I mean? You can do something different. You know, funeral service, if you mess up, that family's never coming back.
Right.
And I don't care how great your marketing is. I don't care how good your prices are. I don't care if you're the cheapest guy in town. That word of mouth from that family in the community, you're done.
Right. And it's your job to make sure that the funeral goes okay. My mother's funeral, we didn't know anything. Nothing. And in retrospect, there are so many things that we forgot, didn't do right. I had no idea that we were supposed to have a luncheon. My father invited family members back over to their home. And the night before, I looked at my sister and said, all these people are coming over tomorrow. Are we supposed to do something? So we're off at the grocery store begging them to make us fruit and vegetable and cheese plates at 10:30 at night. Begging them. But, you know, there should have been that checklist or somebody saying to me, okay, now it's traditional that you have a luncheon afterwards, or it's traditional that you have people back to your house. Are you ready for that?
And Catherine, I don't know how you do it, but normally in my arrangements, I'll sit there and I'll ask, you know, the family, because at the arrangements, I don't like sitting here trying to go over the details of tomorrow tonight. So the family that's here this evening, they already know how we're planning on dismissing the service. Now, they may come to me today and say, hey, you know, we took in a lot of information. I just want to touch base on something like that. Or I'll ask, you know, do you have any questions for tomorrow? But in arrangements, I'll ask, you know, so at the graveside after the committal, are there any announcements I'm going to be needing to make? Are you going to have a luncheon? Where do I direct people to? Or is it going to be something that is just private, that's invite only?
That's a good way to do it. Where can I send people to?
Absolutely. Or they might say, nope, we're not doing anything. So I'm just going to dismiss directly from there and thank people for their attendance.
Which is different from me, who, you know, I'm 30 years old. I've never been, I had been to a funeral when I was maybe 10 years old. I knew nothing, and my dad was worthless. My sister's 11 years younger than I am.
That's why you paid us.
Nothing.
But that's why you paid us. We dropped the funeral director dropped the ball.
I mean, if he would have handed me a checklist, I would have been in good shape, but nothing.
I usually talk about the luncheon when I'm talking about the obituary and service times. And okay, so we're having the viewing from 10 to 11. Actually, let me back up a minute. Are you having a luncheon?
Yep.
Because
things to do.
Want to plan around that. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you just have to kind of assume that the person sitting in front of you has absolutely no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
I go to the mechanic. I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I expect that guy to be the professional. You walk in the door and you're charging me a professional service fee. You're the professional. So
I have so many quotes from people in focus groups who have said, I was so grateful that the funeral director was there to take care of everything. I was so grateful that the funeral director did this. I was so grateful that, you know, and then I have some on the other hand that, you know, I don't think we messed this up. We didn't do it right. Did I do this? They weren't helpful. I felt like I was on my own. Err on the side of, you know, comfort.
Like Catherine said a little while ago. So and we talked about it briefly about that Facebook comment we got about the person saying lackadaisical and all this other stuff. I believe that, like Catherine said too, funeral directors, are not to be seen. If we can
we're
go
supposed to be seen and not heard.
Seen and not heard.
Yeah.
It is not about us, but you see so many things. Like if you ever private security, the person that's there to protect you is never in the middle of the picture, but they're always at arm's length away. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good funeral director. I'm contemplating, okay, they're very emotional. They're going to run out of that box of tissues before the end of the night's out. Guess what? There's already another box of tissues waiting right beside
there.
me.
Yeah.
And you have to be proactive instead of being reactive.
Right.
And most funeral directors, all they want to do is come. So sorry for your loss. Let's go in and see, whomever is. And again, I never ask when I take someone in and, they're seeing their loved one for the first time. I always say, is everything to your liking?
Yeah.
I don't ask, is everything all good? Or, are you happy with how they look?
What one thing could I do right now to?
Is there anything that I can change to make things better for you at this time? And it's nope, everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Those types of things. Or they might say, hey, like the family today, there are 2 rings, and I always want to make sure that one looked like it could be a pinky ring, and it's like, is it a pinky ring or is it another ring that goes on the other ring hand? Nope. It's a pinky ring. Or I said, are they on the right fingers? Because it wasn't a traditional wedding band. Did Dad dress left or right? I don't know any funeral director that asks that anymore.
Tailors don't even ask that half the time. And you guys watching this, you probably don't even know what that means. So Google it.
You don't know
what it means?
What does that mean?
So,
yeah, go ahead, Chris.
So dressing left or right. So how would that, like, I dress left because my left hand has my watch on it. Okay. I also ask, did Dad ever I don't always do a full Windsor for everyone I put a tie on. Did Dad do a half Windsor? Did Dad do a full Windsor? And let me tell you another thing. This is one, put it in the funeral director handbook. If a family brings you in a tie that's already tied, do not dare untie that knot. Just put the tie on. Yep.
Yeah. The way you just answered it, that was good because I would have answered it a different way. So Google it.
Family-friendly podcast, Georganne.
That's
why we're not talking about Stimulate the Show.
Hey, Stimulate the Show is a good show. It's keeping people healthy. And
that's what I'm going to tell my wife.
Do things, huh?
That's what I'm going to tell my wife.
You'd learn a lot. We have an Ask the Doctor stage, and all day long we have.
We're going to have to become Catherine? What is it? Wellness partners, like for heritage.
Wellness partner.
Yeah, wellness partner. You have to Google that too. They're talking about a trade show that I'm actually a partner in. So.
Folks, just Google what is Stimulate the Show.
Stimulate the Show. That's where
and then come back and leave the comments.
No.
Seriously? Stimulate?
No. StimulateTheShow.com. It's a sexual wellness trade show, and sexual wellness is the things that you're thinking about right now. But this show is primarily health and wellness.
This looks interesting.
It's a very elegant show. People come dressed the way you're dressed, Chris.
When's your next show?
Next week.
Where is it? In Chicago?
Nashville.
Content.
It's in Nashville?
Huh?
So, Catherine, I think you got an assignment for next week.
Yeah, come hang out with me. I run the education stage.
Interesting. I've been to some of those parties before. They're fun.
That's not what I'm talking
about. It's not that kind of party.
See, that's my kid. I'm not going to like what you say about that on LinkedIn, Mom. I don't want people to think that. Come on. but right, that was every comment that I made before I knew what it was. And then I walked in and realized, well, this is
There you go.
You Googled the left or the right thing. See?
Yeah, I love you, Caitlin. That's
it was
awesome.
dress left or dress right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But now we've talked a lot about communication. We've talked about body language. Let's talk about appearance of your buildings. Now, George being very nice and us heading it off, and I took her on a what was it? A Skype visual Zoom tour of the funeral home.
We did a Zoom consultation. Yeah, I do those for free.
Yep. So that's another thing. And then before we end everything, I definitely want to make sure, and we'll put all George's contact information and how to reach out to her we'll pin it to the comments here. But yeah, to get a free consultation, to literally have her walk through your funeral home, because besides funerals, what big box, George, that you did a lot of merchandising, a lot of retail work too, like saving companies, right?
Yeah, we primarily work with independent retailers, but I'm I don't know what it is. This sounds really stupid. I'm like a merchandising savant. Mm-hmm. I can go into a store and tear it up and put it back together, and sales will go up. And I learned that my dad was a salesperson for the James L. Welsh Candy Company out of Cambridge, and in our basement we had a store, and he taught me how to merchandise on gondolas and things. And then after that, I went to go work in apparel stores, and I worked for the Gap, and they gave me my first store, and I re-merchandised it, and sales went up double digits. And so the CEO of the company and a couple of vice presidents came out, and they're walking the store, and I'm like 24 years old, and they're walking the store, and he goes, "What did you do?" Move the floor around. What did you do? So I walked them through what I did, and they adopted some of those things. So it's just, I love it. I love going in and moving things around. So why spend time in your industry, I like to look at the overall funeral home. Like, I look at things when I walk through that maybe you don't, but your customers do. You know, when I walk in the front door of a funeral home, you might have a sign up in the lobby that says, X funeral in this room or visitation in this room. If you place that within 10 feet of the front door, nobody sees it. And then they're coming up to you all the time, and they're going, "Well, is there a sign?" And you're thinking, it's right by the door. You didn't see it when you walked in. We don't start even looking at anything until we're at least 5 feet inside the door, maybe even 10 feet inside the door. So any signs or things that you have right next to the door, we don't see them until we're leaving. So that's important. I'll sit in chapels and look around, and if there's dust, the little gilt chairs that we sit in, if there's dust in between the slats, what that says to a customer is you're cutting corners. And if you're cutting corners with cleaning your chairs, what are you going to do? What corner are you going to cut with my mother? I walked into a funeral home for a visitation, actually, that it was a beautiful funeral home. It was pouring rain. And they had a porte cochere, where you could drive your car. I don't know what they use it for. Drive your car under. So my husband let me out there. I didn't have an umbrella. I'm under the awning. He lets me out there. I go to the door. The door is locked. I can see my business partner and friends like 20 feet in front of me, but I can't, start pounding on the door, but I'm knocking. And the sign on the door said, "Please use front entrance." So I had to walk in the rain around the front of the building to get into there. Beautiful funeral home, nice people. I get in there, and they have their office in front, and the office is glass. If you take people into your office, it needs to be decorated, merchandised, as well as the rest of your funeral home. I don't want to look at piles of paper. I don't want to see other people's invoices. You don't want me to see that. I don't want to see piles of paper on the floor. I need a neat, like you're sitting in now, Chris, I need a neat and organized place, because I need to think that you're that neat and you're that organized. In the selection room, when we do this walkthrough, I help funeral directors set up their selection room so it looks like closer to a retail store. And I'm not saying you're going to decorate it like Target, but what I am saying is that there are techniques that we use. They're called visual merchandising techniques. There are visual merchandising techniques that we use in creating displays. And every single person listening to this and every single consumer is used to those things. Seeing merchandise in vertical slices, seeing product on slanted shelves, seeing merchandise well signed. And so what I do is I take those strategies and those visual merchandising presentation techniques and show the funeral directors, now, if you did this display and you tweaked it and just did this, it would make customers more comfortable, because I can look at that display. It might be urns, and I've never seen an urn display before, but I can look at that display and I can say, yeah, I'm okay with that. I can look at that, because in my mind somewhere I'm thinking, oh, I saw vases displayed like that in home goods, or I saw, so that's what we do on those calls.
So let me ask you this: as most funeral homes have, their selection rooms or their merchandising rooms are normally laid out by the casket manufacturers, the reps. You just give because a lot of the standard full size casket displays are going away. I see that funeral directors see that's a waste of square footage that could be used for other purposes. So you either have, like for me, I'm in a very small, older funeral home that doesn't have a selection room. So I offer selection out of a catalog. And then you have other funeral directors that have quarter cuts or,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
So, or I know now, like Catherine, you also have touchscreen now.
Touchscreen, and we do corners.
Yeah.
So back to what you just said, Chris, you catalog for older customers?
I have a casket binder.
A casket binder, right?
Yep.
And I know people that would love that. And then I know other people that would like to see that same thing on an iPad so I can blow it up and look at it.
Yep. And then I have now the older, the baby boomers that are coming in and pre-planning, the first words out of their mouth is, I like to touch whatever I'm buying.
Absolutely.
And you don't have that.
Right.
And now I can, if you tell me 2 or 3 caskets that you want, I can either have it here in a couple hours for you to be able to look at them all, or if you want to come back tomorrow, we can reschedule. But again, that's one of the downfalls of being restricted and, where having the space to do those types of things.
Or maybe the vendors will give you, here's a sample of wood and here's a sample of metal. So if they need to touch it, they could look at that, and then you could stick that in a box under your desk when you're not using it. But the things that I'm talking about, every store that you go into now, you're going to see these. They're called speed bump displays, and they work like speed bumps work in parking lots. And when you first walk into a store, there'll be a table, and on that table there'll be a display of whatever the product, and it's usually cross merchandise products, so that you pick up one item and then you pick up something else that goes with it. And I don't see that in a lot of funeral homes. I'm seeing them more because I've been talking about this for 20 years. Hit me with something, not hit me. Show me something when I walk in that is comfortable, that looks like a display I might see in a store. So you might have an urn, and you might have the little memory urns with it, and you might have some jewelry on that table, or different things, so that when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, oh, look, I can do this. I can get a big urn, I can get a memory urn, I can get a, just so it sort of breaks the ice. When you're putting urns on your wall, if you have they're called memory urns, right?
Like keepsake urns.
Keepsake urns.
Yeah.
Losing words tonight. The keepsake urns. You always put the large size urn on the left and the keepsake on the right. Sorry. Large size on the right, small size on the left. because most people are right-handed and we don't even think about it. We reach for the larger size. Now, if you want to sell more keepsake urns, you would put them on the right. If you're okay selling urns, but you want to move more keepsake urns, then you would put those on the right side so that people lift them up and look at them. I mean, there's a gazillion. I have a book. If anybody wants it, you just have to send me an email and I'll send you the ebook on how to merchandise your funeral home. But
so
there's
for
to make it easier for me, the customer.
So for like on a speed bump for something in a selection room, so you're saying they shouldn't just walk straight through the door and the very first thing is the most expensive casket just sitting right there, the first thing that they walk into.
Yeah, you do that if you want to scare the hell out of people.
Right.
I walk in and I see Michael Jackson's casket there for $50,000. I'm immediately going to look at that and think, I can't afford this place.
Yep.
But I see it. I mean, I've seen it in a lot of different funeral homes.
That's why we didn't go with the building that we initially were going to go with.
Yeah.
The design. Yeah, we said people are going to drive by and I'm sorry.
Too fancy, too
fancy, just too elaborate and decorative and bump outs and second stories. And I said people are going to drive by and say, I can't afford that place.
I'm glad you did that because it's probably 100% true.
It was also like a lot more than what we spent. We learned very quickly that second stories and bump outs would cost a lot of money. And that's why when you drive to, like a lot of medical facilities, for example, they're square boxes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. And, those are your first impressions. People make value judgments about your building. They make them inside your building in every single room that they go into, but they also make value judgments outside of your building. They're looking at what the building looks like. They're looking at places for me to sit if I'm at a visitation, but I want to sit outside. They're looking at your sign and the quality of the sign. And is it easy to read? And are all the bulbs working? And is it well lit? And is your parking lot well lit? A lot of older people are scared to death that they're going to fall. We're terrified of shiny floors. But retailers love a shiny floor. But you can walk into, like a big department store, see that floor, and they equate that with it's gonna be like ice and I'm gonna fall.
So they're even more uncomfortable and now they're even scared, Yeah. The mental part of it all.
A lot of New Balances out there. New Balance sneakers out there. Even lighting, when you get to be 62 or 63, you need 3 times the amount of light to see as well as you did in your 20s. So that's one thing that I look at in funeral homes. When was the last time you relamped your funeral home or had somebody come in and evaluate your lighting and your lumens? Because you might in your selection room have all kinds of things that you want me to see, but I can't see them because if there's shadows, older eyes can't see them. Older eyes don't like all capital letters. They're harder to read. There's a gazillion things to think about.
I know one of the main things I took away from Baltimore after sitting through your and Rich's presentation was, and we went back and implemented right away, was the basket of cheaters.
Reading glasses, yep.
A basket of cheaters in each arrangement office that, because the font might have been too small or, you italicize this and it makes it hard to read. So it's like, and of course, like I didn't think I needed to bring my reading glasses because, they're in grief. They're not thinking. So you had the box of cheaters with different like +5, +3. You pull that. Here, George, which one do you want to try?
Which one do you want to use? I'm sitting in. So first of all, you start to need reading glasses when you hit the ripe old age of 40. And I always joke that, let me know when you turn 40 because you're going to be down at Walgreens buying some readers. And then you'll have 50 pairs of them, but you don't know where any of them are at any given time. So I'm sitting in front of you and I can't read those catalog pages because I forgot my glasses. Where is that sale, that offering going?
I'll just do it at home on Amazon. That's exactly what they'll think.
Or they're getting their phones out, and they're trying to blow it up. if I have to sign a contract and I don't have my reading glasses, I'm walking. So it's smart to have all different magnifications. And you can buy them at the dollar store for $1.50. Just go buy a ton of them. If somebody steals them, who cares?
That's what I was just thinking is tomorrow I'm going to run to the dollar store, grab a bunch of glasses. My husband's watching. So honey.
All different magnifications. Yeah.
And then was it Christina 48 and she needs I need my readers.
Yep.
And it's right then and there by being able to pull that basket out and you've now taken them off guard. They weren't expecting that and they're like, these guys have thought of everything. We're in the right place.
Right.
We feel comfortable.
I had cataract surgery in December and I don't need reading glasses anymore.
Awesome.
So I buy fake glasses because I'm not used to myself without wearing glasses anymore. But just go to the dollar store, or if you could go to a promotional house.
Have them branded.
You could have your name put on the temple. Andy Lopez just did that. Do you know Andy Lopez?
No.
He's a big guy in the funeral industry. He's always doing presentations. He just ordered a ton of them for a trade show to pass out. It's good advertising.
Absolutely. The other thing that I always used to get, we would have a little thing by the door. Now we know not to put the little thing 10. We have to make sure it's 10 feet from the door. So that's now another mental note for me to keep.
At least 5 feet inside the door. But
we would have a little wicker basket, and we had combs, just regular pocket combs with the funeral home name on it. And every man that walked out of that funeral home was taking a comb and putting it in his pocket. The other thing was the jar openers.
Yeah.
Everyone loved those. People would call the funeral home, do you have the jar openers in?
Yeah.
And they'd have 30 or 40 of them in their house.
Well, think about your customers. What are the things they need? It's
exactly.
Something like 50% of people over the age of 55 have some form of arthritis.
Yep. And then the other big one was chapstick.
Yeah, people love chapstick.
Mortuary Lift Company has the best chapstick that they hand out at convention, and it's Embalm.
I'm just going to take a couple of these.
Like that.
Oh, I have a bunch of them still, but yeah, it's the best chapstick.
Who is it? Dodge that has the best hand cream, and you can't buy it. It's like from Balmer's. It's the best hand cream on the planet. And
yes.
Every time I can get a bottle of it, I steal it from the funeral home or ask a funeral director to send me some, and then I enjoy lending it to people, and they'll go, God, this is the best hand cream I've ever used in my life. Yeah, it's made from Balmer's.
It's probably massage cream.
It is.
It's so good.
I can't, and it's a weird name too, but it's like you wouldn't expect it to be massage cream.
Yeah, it's a green bottle with blue lettering. It's
yeah.
Good.
But there's so many different things, and it's just thinking outside the box, thinking outside the norm. The yellow, the ad in the yellow pages is not going to just cut it anymore.
That's Yelp now. Did you know Yelp means yellow pages?
There was that, and it was what's the other one? YW or something like that that owns it or something. You've got to start thinking.
Foursquare. People still use
Foursquare. Well, how many funeral homes have their own Pinterest?
They should. Pinterest, in presentations at NFDA,
I'm full of ideas.
Get a Pinterest account. It is a one-stop consumer focus group.
Yep.
People pin any, and Pinterest is like crack for women.
Right. Yeah, I use it a lot for cooking. So tell me about this.
Okay. Velvetone. That's it. Send me your Velvetone. So you go into Pinterest and put in funeral ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I just create a Wagner, Elfner, and Berg page.
Make your own Pinterest for the funeral home.
For the funeral home.
Your floral arrangements, Catherine, that come in.
And then you can send me to that if you need ideas.
Stage the chapel.
Go to my Pinterest page.
Ooh.
It's amazing, and you can pin from other from other things, other companies too, but not other funeral homes though. It's it's just
I don't know any
cookies.
other funeral home that's on Pinterest.
Well,
Oh,
I
know a lot.
have a Pinterest page, and
Ryan's customers.
I pinned a lot of ideas for the new funeral home.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I got a lot of my ideas, was from
Right.
Pinterest. But I never thought about what you're talking about.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I
Interesting.
like, I never knew. You guys tell me if this is a thing for you. I never knew that now there are funeral favors.
Oh, absolutely.
Wedding favors. When you leave, you get a favor. You get a funeral favor. I didn't know that.
The day of just getting the mass, or not the
Mass
prayer
card.
card or the mass card or the memorial folder, you
Yeah.
got to think outside the box. So, prime example, we had one of our followers, Dawn Myers.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. I come into the funeral home and there's like 3 or 4 dozens of cookies, and it's got Catherine and I's face on it. It's got different logos and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? If somebody was a baker and you got their recipe and had like a baker be able to duplicate grandma's chocolate chip cookie, and at the end of the service, as people were leaving to go to their cars to go to the cemetery, you're handing out a cookie, and it's compliments of the funeral home.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something, but you know what? You got to take the 5 seconds and 10 minutes to have the conversation during the arrangements to find out about that person, to then ask those questions.
She loved lilacs. Give everybody a lilac. One of the big favors that I'm seeing now are recipe cards.
Yep.
So they duplicate the recipe card, but then if you duplicated the recipe card for the chocolate chip cookies and had somebody bake them,
that's a home run.
Have a baker bake them, though. Have a baker bake them. Don't serve anything out of your funeral home that isn't pre-wrapped or catered.
Yeah. I'd cremate it. That's what I do, so I wouldn't be baking anything anyway.
But you know what? Some funeral directors aren't going to like that, because that means they need to dip into their own pockets and spend a little bit of money. And some funeral directors don't like to do that.
Well,
then that's why, what do we say? When the funeral home down the street starts serving the family that you should be serving, don't come here and complain.
Yeah. They just don't want to go the extra mile.
Well, I say that because if you, Catherine, if you baked cookies and served them at a visitation and somebody got sick, either from the cookies or something else, that's a liability for you. So as a business, always go to a caterer.
Yeah. You also don't want to eat anything that I bake.
So if you go back in on Catherine, probably the Berg page, probably around May, June, Catherine decided to fried chicken at the funeral home, and the fire department showed up.
So they showed up. And
Wait, you were frying chicken?
She was making lunch.
Searing it in the pan, and I ate it. It was great. It wasn't burnt, but our detectors were very sensitive, and so because we're a commercial building, they have to come. And we hadn't even had our walkthrough yet. We had been in the funeral home for maybe a week, but they showed up, and I was like, "Well, while you're here, can I get a selfie? Can we post it on social media?"
And poor Nate, Chad, I are walking around trying to figure out how to get back into certain areas of the funeral home because the fire door is shut, and because the alarm hasn't been reset, we can't get in. And all of a sudden, it's on the like local community page that the fire department spotted. So hey, and then you just see Catherine.
Can I get a selfie?
She's just walking, and she's like, content. You can make content anywhere. So to say you can't come up with something to put on social media, you're full. I'm calling bullocks.
You can make content anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. But people want to see you.
If Catherine becomes any more transparent, she'd be invisible.
It's a good picture, Michael.
We've got about 15 minutes left. So again, I think we've talked about a lot of great topics. Catherine, I knew you would love George. That's why when you guys were in Chicago, I was like, if you get the chance, you have got to go listen to her show, or presentation. I'm sorry.
Her show.
I'd listen to your show. I got to go back and see if I can find some old YouTube clips of you doing stand-up now.
There aren't any. It was in the late 70s.
So, if people are interested in wanting to do the consultation Zoom with you, how would your website?
Yes.
Would that be the best thing to do?
Yes. And it's GeorganneBender.com. So just look at my name there and take the Guyan out. GeorganneBender.com.
Is we'll go back after the live ends, and I'll take all of I'll link it and pin it in the top of the comments here.
You can reach me through there.
And I know you said you're not going to be in Charlotte, but how about ICCFA or anything on the books this year for any funeral service? Okay.
I have Stimulate next week, and then I go to Las Vegas for Super Zoo, which is this incredible pet show. It's amazing. They have all these contests, and they're grooming dogs and painting them to look like zebras, and everybody's happy, and there's animals everywhere. It's the best. And then I go to the dive show after that, and then I have a couple of private meetings before I wrap up the year.
Christina, please reach out. Definitely send, that information will be put back up sometime this evening. It'll be back in the comments. And, just is it still KaiserandBender.com, Georganne?
So,
or is it just Georganne Bender?
Kaiser's retired.
Right.
So I've kept Kaiser and Bender, KaiserandBender.com, but it takes you to GeorganneBender.com.
So it just redirects you.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll make sure. And I can't thank you enough for taking your time tonight. I mean, I knew we were going to have fun. We definitely need to do it again. And then next, if you're ever up this way, let us know.
I need to be. And
get you to come in. We need to hook you up with our friend Tim with PFDA and get them to get you to come out to one of the state conventions.
That'd be great. I'd love that. I'd love that. And then I have to meet you and your family at Universal.
We still got to get to Universal. We are September. We'll be back down.
He looks at his watch.
I'm September.
I have to get there before the end of the year. Probably November.
You'll get down for Grinchmas.
I get down when it's not so hot in Florida that I can't deal with life.
That was what, last year or the year before? Yeah, it was last year where I had a couple Grinch teenies and went and decided to ask the Grinch if he wanted to be a business partner. Remember that video?
Yeah.
That one went awesome.
And for 2 months straight, we'd watch it every night. Max, I want to watch Chris and the Grinch.
I got to look for that one.
That one's good. And then people are saying, come to Michigan Funeral. Have your state, if you were in here and you're a member of a state association, have your state association ED, your executive director, because I don't like saying ED because a lot of people might take that different ways, especially after Stimulate the Show.
Stimulate the Show.
Reach out. Have them reach out to Georganne, and she'll get you on her calendar fills quick. So if you want to get it,
happy to do that.
Reach out. But thank you. This has been a blast.
You're welcome.
And you got anything for Georganne, Catherine? Did you want to set up your flight for next week?
Yeah, I'll contact you. But no, this was wonderful. A lot of great information that we will implement at the new funeral home for sure.
Perfect.
This was great.
Perfect. And you guys call me anytime. And Catherine, it was lovely to meet you in person.
It was nice to meet you as well.
Thank you.
So everybody hang tight right where you are. And everybody else, we'll see you soon. Next scheduled show is going to be mid-August with Dwayne Hills, but you never know what Catherine and I might come up with between then. So see you guys.